It has been 2 years since Sombra was reformed by the help from Twilight and Cadence by the help from the Crystal Heart. Ever since he decided that he remained in Crystal Empire, he started living in a Crystal Palace. Even though Shining Armor didn't even trust him, he has also suspicious that Sombra wasn't reformed which he claimed to be. So he had to put two guards to guard him all day because he didn't trust him to be alone with Flurry Heart. But over time, Shining Armor started to trust him, and later on they became good friends. Even though that Sombra often went to Cantlot to see Celestia and Luna, since they used to be old friends. Even when Sombra did visit in Cantlot, Luna, of all, noticed something was a bit strange with Sombra. He often sat by himself either in his room or in his castle garden. She tried to talk to him about if something was troubling him, or if there was something wrong with him. But he said nothing was serious wrong. He just wanted to be alone. So she didn't bother to him anymore about that. But the thing is that though, Sombra he felt lonely ever since he was reformed. Ever since his friend Hope had got married recently and had moved to Manhattan. Even though both of them are still good friends, but he felt lonely even after that. Even Celestia had been talking to him about if something was wrong between him or Hope, that since Hope and Sombra used to date a long time ago, but now when she's married and she thought maybe that he had lost his true love. But truth is, Sombra admits that Hope wasn't his true love. Sure, they did date for some time, but he didn't love her anymore. Even deep down in his heart, he wished to find his true love. So, Celestia admits that maybe that he could stay in Canterlot for a bit longer, and who knows, maybe that he will find his true love, or at least a mare to be with. And since then, he hasn't been on a date for over 1,000 years. Sombra was a little bit rusty in dating, so he didn't know about the new ways of dating. Back in his old days, when he was younger, he could just walk up to a mare and ask her. But nowadays, there are different ways, like adding an ad in a newspaper, or going to the speed dating, or having a friend put up on a blind date for it. But speed dating was something that Sombra was introduced from Celestia and Luna. So he decided to give it a try, so he went to the speed dating in Cantlot. Of course, he met some few mares, but nothing else seems to be of his interest in. At least one might had thought about some interest. A mare by the name Elegant. Elegant was a mare that something unique, even that she was an earth pony. But him, she was quite beautiful, and they had a lot of things in common, like the same music, the same food, but they were also something that they both have. Some chemistry. But even this Sombra didn't ask her out even then. Because even that Sombra were has some sort of affection towards her, there were a few other stallions at the same place who were seemed to be interested in her. Some were more successful. One was a banker, one other was a journalist was a good journalist from a big newspaper, but so he had nothing to compete with, since he's a former king of the empire. But other than that, he hasn't done anything over the past 1,000 years after he was reformed. He has no work, so he has nothing to compete with. So he decided maybe not to ask her out. So even though that seemed that she liked him more than he expected, but he didn't take that much as a consideration. So he told her that he enjoyed her company during speed dating, and maybe they might run into each other someday, and hope that she might find some pony to be with. So after his time there after speed dating, he went back to the castle, but the next day he left Camelot. But he didn't go back to Crystal Empire. Instead, he actually went to Ponyville. And he had told Celestia that he's going to see Twilight and her friends. Just to have some other time to spend some time with his other friends. Even when he was in Ponyville, Twilight had asked him, "Where do you feel the most home?" Ever since he used to be living in the Crystal Empire for a millennium. And even now had been asked where he preferred to be home, either Canterlot or Crystal Empire. Even if things had changed for over 1,000 years, he still felt more home in Crystal Empire. But when he was staying in Ponyville, one late night around 2 a.m. in the morning, Spike was walking up, just he wanted something to drink, but when he walked by Sombra's guest room, he heard some crying. He listened, and in fact, Sombra was crying of missing some special in his life. So the next day, when Sombra was out, Spike mentioned this to Twilight, and she was very surprised at hearing that. But she told him, "Maybe there's something we can do about, since we prefer letting him to be by himself." So they decided to let it be. Even when Sombra were in Ponyville for about a month, he still thought about Elegant. Elegant by this time had been dating two of the stallions from speed dating. After all, seems been going quite well, but unfortunately the banker was done her dating didn't last particularly long, so she moved on to journalist that she thought maybe could have been with one. But unfortunately, nothing like that. That didn't last any longer either. That lasted for about almost a couple of months afterwards. But even if Sombra later returned back to Canterlot just before he went back to Crystal Empire, he had been thinking about if he should be with some pony or just be himself. He had often been thinking if he should go back to Crystal Empire for some time and then travel around Equestria to see if there was any pony out there for him. So, in fact, he did the same thing. So when he went back to Crystal Empire, he stayed there only for a short time before he leaving. Shining Armor and Cadence had asked him where he was going when he said, "I have no idea. I am going somewhere, and I will let my heart decide where to go." That was unusual even from him, though. What do you think? But there was nothing they can do about it. But he promised to get in touch with his friends. So, when he did actually on his travels, he either wrote a letter, but that was rarely he did do. For the most, he actually just sent a postcard when he was arrived from one town to another, and for a short period though, for about almost a month there were no signs, no cards, no letters from Sombra. It was like he had disappeared forever, until another postcard about a month later showed that he has now was now in Griffinstone. But when he came back to Crystal Empire only about several weeks later, things had changed. Sombra didn't feel lonely anymore. He felt just being himself. So Sombra, when he went back to Canterlot just for another visit, by random chance, he actually ran into Elegant, and she was crying in the park of all places. He asked her if something was wrong, and it turns out that she had a fight with her so-called current boyfriend. But this boyfriend wasn't a nice type. He was cheating on her, and even admits right away that after she caught him, and that he had been doing this all their time had been together for at least for a few months. Even after she found out about that from first a friend of hers, but she didn't believe it first. But when after she found him directly by herself calling him, and he openly admits that he had been cheating on her, but that didn't mean that he would stop doing it because he knows that she wanted to break up with him because of that. But he was wrong. When he found out that she had dumped him, he was furious because he demanded that she stays and that so that he can still date the other mayor behind her back. But she refused, so he didn't bother her anymore. That was the point, the breaking point for Elegant. Elegant, though, she preferred to be with a stallion who is kind, honest, most of all, faithful. But after her last boyfriend did, she had almost given up hope to even to find that particular kind of boy, or stallion, to be with. But when she started talking to Sombra, she felt comfortable to be with him, knowing that he is listened to her problems, even have some advice, or at least try to help her with some advice that he tried to care. So when he asked her if she maybe want to go grab something to eat nearby, something to try to forget about this past event that has happened, and she said yes. Even there, Sombra admits that he used to having some sort of affection towards her after they spent the first meeting at speed dating of several months ago. That surprised her, and she asked him why that he didn't brought it up back to her afterwards. He believed that he didn't have something to compete with. Like the first was a banker, another was it was a very famous journalist, and he was nothing. A former king of an empire, but when he was evil. He didn't thought maybe he didn't want to be with someone who used to be evil villain. But truth is, though, she didn't even care if he wasn't even something big or famous or something. As long as he is himself, kind, sweet, honest, and faithful, that is only that things that matters to her. And that was something that he didn't consider to be with. He thought that she didn't want to be with him and since he wasn't such famous pony. But after all, then he asked her if she maybe want to go out with him on a date, which she didn't hesitate to say yes to. When they actually went out on the next day, he took her for a dinner, and it was a perfect moment. Sombra realized then that they were meant to be with each other. Even Sombra at that point had thought maybe she was the right man to be with. And a few weeks after they'd been dating, something did happen. Her ex-boyfriend showed up, and it turns out he had just left an undermare and wants her back. But when he saw that she was just with another stallion, but he thought maybe that was just a friend of hers. But when he did find out, it was actually her new boyfriend. He was furious. How would she date somebody else? Some loser called him. So he tried to talk to her about this when Sombra wasn't even around, saying, how would she date and someone who is a loser like that guy? Or that stallion? He was not much as him. But she said Sombra has always been kind. Nothing else has hindered her. He has never been cheating, always been kind, honest, and faithful, and she refused to be with him again. But then, only about a day later, when Sombra was in the park waiting for Elegant, Elegant's ex-boyfriend was there already waiting and walked up to Sombra, told him that he can wait all the time he wants because Elegant will never show up because she had returned back to be with him and even showed some supposed true picture with them together, only been taken only about the day before. So, but Sombra, he knew about that because he knew that this stallion, supposed ex-boyfriend, would try anything to make it a lie. But Sombra said, "Oh, is that true?" "Yes, it is." "So Elegant won't be here then?" "Yes." "So if Elegant won't be here, but who is standing behind you then?" he said with a smile. And the boyfriend turned around and turns to the right. Right there, Elegant, standing furious look. "How dare you try to break up with me with Sombra? If I was you, go and never show your face around me ever again, or Sombra will beat your flank." "Isn't that true, Sombra, honey?" "Absolutely. After all, I used to run the Empire of Crystal Empire for 1,000 years ago, so I know more than less of martial arts styles. And truth is another word. If you ever try to do this ever again, or ever try to hit on my girlfriend, you will be sorry. And don't ever try this again," he said with an angry tone, and his eyes started to glow as he used before. That terrified the ex-boyfriend and said, okay, sorry." And he ran away like a scary cat. That made Elegant start to laugh, because she knows that Sombra wouldn't hurt any pony. And of course he didn't. That was only the act, because he didn't want to be any ponies to harm away. After all, Elegant only knew about this meeting, and turns out Sombra had actually heard about their meeting. And Sombra was meeting. They set up this meeting, and so that he could confront the ex-boyfriend. And then also, that was the very last they ever saw him, because the very same day, the ex-boyfriend took a train ticket one way from Canterlot to somewhere else in Equestria to be as far away as possible from Sombra, because now he was terrified about him. So they never heard from that ex-boyfriend ever again. So what happened next though? Well, truth is, Sombra and Elegant, they still continue to dating as ever before. And even their true feelings towards each other always just only got stronger from that day on. They never fought. Even if they had an argument, Sombra always left till she cooled down and came back to apologize. And they always worked out that particular argument. But after a while, Sombra, he thought maybe it was time to be with her. So he had asked her if she wanted to live in Canterlot, or in Crystal Empire, or in Ponyville. He would just want to know where she would like to live, if she could choose any place. But the strange is, she wanted actually to live in Ponyville, because she got tired of all this big city life, and even though she liked being in Crystal Empire, but she preferred to be more quiet place. And Sombra, he said, if that happens, maybe we can just move to Ponyville. And she was like, really? We can move there tomorrow if you want. And they actually did that also. But since they didn't have a place to stay in, they both stayed in Twilight's castle during that particular time. But since Sombra was looking for a house just for him and Elegant, after Baron was searched for about at least 2 to 3 weeks, he actually found a house big enough for both of them. So after that, they moved in and they went perfectly. Elegant, she actually started working with Rarity as an assistant. She was actually very good in fashion designing. What about Sombra? What happened to him? Well, turns out he started working as a teacher at the School of Friendship in ancient Elizabethan history. He was actually good in that particular area, and even teached about the magic and history. And Whitney had been living there for another 2 years when there was when Sombra popped the question to Elegant. He asked her if she wanted to marry him, which she said yes. And on that day, when he proposed to her, was an evening night. He had taken her to the park, just watch the stars, and even deep down, he was so nervous. He was shaking almost in hopes and felt, and it thought to himself, should I even do it? Should I even ask her? Should I wait? No, 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 I will do it. I'm ready. I'm ready to ask the big question to her. And when he did it, he said that her eyes was glitter as stars in the night sky, and that made her blush and smile when then he showed a ring and asked her if she wanted to marry him, which when she said yes, and of course all their friends and families could not have been happier. Even Celestia was happy to their old friend to be married. After their after they was married, since Sombra had asked Spike to be his best man and Rarity to be Elegant's bridesmaid. Even if at the party they had some amazing time. But later on, they actually went to Saudi Arabia for about a week. Only a year later, both of them announced to all their friends that they were expecting a baby soon. And that was a big news for everybody. Even when a few months later, they had a daughter. And when their daughter was 2 years old, they had another son, a baby, a son. When their son was about 4 years, they were expecting another child, and they had another son. Even deep in both hearts, Sombra was happy that he had actually admitted his feelings towards Elegant. If he didn't, what would happen? Would she have moved on? Would she have still remained with the ex-boyfriend? Would he have been alone? Or perhaps even found another mare to be with? That was something that he couldn't imagine. After knowing that Elegant was in fact his true love, when he told that to her, she could not start crying of happiness of joy, knowing how much he loved her beyond anything else. And that's how Sombra and Elegant found a true love, got a big family. The end.